This summer I had what some people might call an identity crisis.
Before this summer, I was a chronic workaholic. For the last month though, my sole focus has been to discover who I am outside of what I do. I'm still in this healing process, but I feel a lot healthier and ready to film again. So let me reintroduce myself. Hi, I'm Annie. I'm super ambitious, but I'm also extremely sensitive and silly as well. I'm told I'm mature for my age, but it's not my whole identity. Sometimes I totally don't feel 16 and other times I do. Welcome to my coming of age journey.
It's uncomfortable, but I know it's better for me in the long run. Through the period of exploration I've had for the last couple months, here's what I've learned about myself and the world. Number one, just because you can handle it doesn't mean that you should actually do it. I find that a lot of the times when you're a high achiever, you're kind of like a duck, okay? Above the surface, you look calm, you look composed, you look like you're managing things well, but beneath the surface, underwater, you're paddling frantically just to stay afloat. I feel like so many students feel like this, and over time, we feel like it's okay because people see us as this calm, composed person. When you're a productivity YouTuber, people see you as this calm, composed person. And maybe you can make it physically work, but what's going on mentally? Are you mentally dying? Are you emotionally dying? Are you spiritually dying? And I think that my physical body was staying together when I was constantly grind, but inside, not really. I think I've really just redefined for myself what reaching my fullest potential means. I used to always think that meant just reaching my fullest potential in my schoolwork and my career, but I never realized there's a full potential for me in my social life. Like, what would it look like if I had the ideal social life? Just a group of really close friends that I can call sisters. Like, hypothesize it a little bit. Like, yo, what could life be like? So now I don't only want to just maximize the school and work part of my life, but my relationships. And I feel like that can be so easy in nowadays culture to deprioritize. The book How Will You Measure Your Life, I highly recommend. It talks about how successful people tend to underinvest in relationships. Sometimes investing in the relationship, you can't see the very clear like return on investment with that, but think about it. When you're 40 years old, your mental health then will be very dependent on the choices you're making when you're younger. Like, when do you prioritize work over friendships, and when do you prioritize friendships over work? And I don't think it should always be that we're prioritizing school before our friendships, because in the short term that might get us where we want to go, but in the long term, I just don't want to be that 40-year-old woman that's like, I regret my childhood, I'm so traumatized. I'm not trying to go through that, okay? Like, I'll just listen to their podcast online, if you guys know what I mean, but I don't need to live through that. I don't need to make their mistakes in order to learn from their mistakes. Number two, the root of overthinking is moving away from darkness instead of moving towards light. Every single time I've been overthinking about things is because I truly just can't accept myself or the way that I feel. Even when I would like someone or have feelings for someone, I feel like I was just constantly trying to move away from them instead of moving on like the self-work I had to do. And that just caused me to come in these situations where I was like, I can't get this thing out of my head. I just don't know how to deal with this. And a lot of the times for me, that was like figuring out how productive do I want to be, right? When I was trying to move away from workaholism, I would just overthink about everything I was doing instead of what type of things do I want to move towards? How am I going to move towards joy? How am I going to move towards friendship? Like, if you can't accept the things that you're going through and you feel some types of like resistance towards it, like you're kind of in self-disgust, moving away from yourself, that is truly at the core of it what causes overthinking, for me at least. Every single time I'm overthinking, it's because I just can't accept what I'm going through. Number three, you will never be able to relate to people your age if you're not willing to be vulnerable. This one was hard to learn, for sure. I remember I would tell a lot of people, oh, it's really difficult for me to relate to people my age, and I think that sometimes I feed into the things people say about me. People say, oh, you're really mature for your age, or if I get along with a lot older people, sometimes I see it as a binary thing of because I get along with these older people, it's going to be so much harder to relate to people my age. And it just started to become my identity statement. Be very careful about the statements you make about your own identity, because a lot of the times your behavior will match what you say about yourself. And I just found myself honestly like just looking down at people my age. Like, I always said I never did, but honestly deep down I did probably do that. And I've realized not everyone can relate to juggling a lot in high school while running a business, but everyone can relate to the core feeling of feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you're not doing enough, feeling like you're chasing after wind. And the thing is, I was never vulnerable to this point where people could get down this onion layer of how I truly felt. And because I was never vulnerable about that, I was always presenting the, oh, I run a business in high school, but I was never presenting the, I'm overwhelmed, I feel like what I'm doing is not enough, I feel like I find my worth in what I do. And because of that, no one could ever relate to me. But everyone knows what it's like to feel like you're not doing enough and that you're not worth anything outside of what you do. In these past couple months, I've gotten a lot better at being vulnerable, and I owe it literally all to my high performance student program students. So I run a 6-week program where I get a ton of like-minded high school girls together, and we learn all about high performance habits, how to actually move forward in your passion project, even discover what that is in high school. And I just noticed how all of them were so vulnerable when they were struggling to be productive. People were able to make such close friendships within the high performance student program because they were vulnerable. So I was like, I want to show up as vulnerable too. I actually have a couple more slots open for the September cohort. If you want to join the high performance student coaching program, I get like dozens of emails and DMs from you guys every day wanting to chat and everything, and it's just really hard for me to reach everyone and really talk to you guys personally. But the high performance student coaching program is a great opportunity to be able to learn from me in a more intimate setting and also create amazing friendships, especially if you're struggling to find like-minded people around you. So visit highperformancestudent.info for more information if you're looking to build a community like that and to practice vulnerability in a new setting. Number 4, nothing will change in your family if you don't break cultural backgrounds. So as an Asian American, I'm 50% Chinese, 50% Mongolian, very cultural. Academic pressure is very much in the literal backbone of the Chinese culture, and I realized that if I don't intentionally, I don't want to say interfere with that, but if I don't intentionally be aware that that is in the generational backbone of my family, then that might just keep on repeating. I don't want to bring the academic pressure I feel down to my children. So I'm really just being more aware of how can I improve this in my family. I filmed a video kind of on my family trip of how I've been dealing with some of the issues that I personally have that I project onto my family, and how I'm kind of figuring out who I am and how that has also kind of intertwined with my family relationships. But I definitely feel a lot of academic pressure from my parents, and I think right now I do have to fight the good fight and being like, I want to learn what's authentic to me and not backing down from that, while also honoring my parents, because I don't want to carry this pressure onto my future children. So especially if you come from, I don't know, even an immigrant household, it's really important to evaluate what toxic cultural patterns do we have, what healthy ones do we have, and how can I consciously process them now. Because a lot of people have childhood trauma that they have to deal with a lot later in life. So I highly recommend that you guys start focusing on in high school. Definitely don't psych yourself out and overthink a ton about it, because it can be a lot to contemplate at once. It's quite heavy. Number 5, delay gratification but don't delay life. I think this is a big balance that you need to find in self-improvement and productivity. As a huge part of it is when you're a high performance student, we don't just pick the easiest option. We don't always just cave into pleasure, but at the same time, if you're on a very neurotic scale of I'm super productive, it can be very easy to delay life. So for me, I wouldn't hang out with people at all and just work on my business and work on school, because I was delaying gratification, right? But I was really delaying life. To me now, I'm much more comfortable with what's the balance between I'm gonna delay gratification, I'm not gonna hang out with people today because I need to get this done. What's the difference between that, which is maybe setting a healthy boundary for a specific time, versus going weeks without hanging out with people because I feel this compulsion to go get work done. Because yes, to be successful, you are going to have to make sacrifices other people don't have to make necessarily, but make sure you're not sacrificing your life. Don't delay happiness to a different destination. This summer I went to the Dominican Republic, and the culture there is much more different than the American culture of grind, 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 and especially the Chinese culture of grind, grind, grind. And I realized that happiness is literally right in front of us, joy is right in front of us, and joy can literally be going to the beach with your family. And that's something that you don't have to spend years achieving a diploma for or whatever. So a lot of the times we make ourselves miserable because we delay happiness and we delay life to this external result and location that will never be promised to get to. Those are all my lessons so far. If you guys want to stay along this journey, please click the subscribe button, and especially if you want to discover how I've been kind of figuring out who I am in terms of my family relationships and everything, go watch this video.